Genetically modified organisms is one of the components of biotechnology, which is a science tool used to engineer the genes of plants to make them behave in the manner in which they were engineered for. However, there are growing concerns on the safety of this technology to humans and environment. My guest on this week's episode of the program clears the air on the fears and concerns about the use of the technology and food security. Hello there, welcome to Dateline Abuja. I'm Gloria Umezuke. In spite of concerns by groups, the Nigerian Biosafety Management Agency has been issuing licenses for the application of genetically modified organisms in the nation's agriculture sector. The Open Forum on Agricultural Biotechnology in Africa has been promoting conversations around the introduction of this technology. And we have details of our conversation with an official of the department in our interview segment. But first, what are the stories that made headlines within the week in the nation's capital?
That Ahmed Baba Keita of APC.
The presidency believes that the outcome of last weekend's by-election in Bauchi, Katsina and Kogi states have placed President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo in good stead to win next year's election. The All Progressives Congress won the National Assembly's by-elections in Bauchi South, Katsina North Senatorial District and a federal constituency in Kogi State. While addressing journalists in the State House, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Malam Garba Shehu, said election after election, Nigerians are reposing confidence on President Muhammadu Buhari and the Vice President.
Decisive victories is an indication, is a clear statement by Nigerians that Nigerians have spoken, that President Buhari maintains and retains his momentum. That these big victories place the Buhari-Osinbajo ticket that won in 2015, places them in a very good stead for next year's election. It represents certainly a statement on the fact that the APC would go into election next year with every confidence that the election will be won.
The federal government will be giving 2 million Nigerians collateral-free loans as part of the recently launched initiative under the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program called Trader Money. Under the scheme, a minimum of 30,000 traders in each state of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory will be reached. Traders from Lagos, Kano and Abia will be the first round of beneficiaries to partake in the scheme.
Petty traders will get initially 10,000 naira, and when they repay it, within 6 months, they get more. They go from 10 to 15. And the way that this has been structured is that between now and the end of the year, we intend to have reached at least 2 million of such petty traders across the country. And the plan is to have a minimum of 30,000 beneficiaries in each of the states. And certainly big states like Lagos and Kano, we certainly get more than that.
The Director General of the Debt Management Office, Mrs. Patience Oniha, has described the nation's 22 trillion naira debt profile as sustainable. Speaking at a news conference, Mrs. Oniha says public debt profile decreased by 1.4% as at June 2018.
If you look at between March and June, the total public debt actually dropped by about 1.44%, most of it due to a reduction in the domestic debt of the state. We want to achieve a ratio of 60-40. We want to bring down debt service costs. we want to free up space in the domestic market for other borrowers. So that $3 billion US dollars was available for repaying domestic debt. So in December, we actually repaid 198 billion of treasury bills, and between January and June, we repaid over 600 billion.
The federal government and the Kano state government have signed 12.7 billion naira agreement on the expansion of water and sanitation services to the populace. At a meeting in Abuja, where the Memorandum of Understanding was signed, the Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adamu, said the partnership for expanded water supply, sanitation and hygiene is a 15-year agreement which spans from 2016 to 2030, in line with the Sustainable Development Goal 6 for overall target of providing adequate and qualitative access to water at an affordable price.
PWASH is a 15-year program that is divided into 3 phases. Phase 1 being the period 2016 to 2018, the preparatory phase that is devoted to advocacy, mobilization and takeoff. Phase 2 will span 2019 to 2025 for substantial infrastructure development, while Phase 3 will be implemented from 2016 to 2030 and will consolidate the program implementation. Upon full implementation of the 3 phases, it is planned to achieve 0% open defecation and 100% access to water supply, especially in the rural areas.
The Federal Executive Council has approved the augmentation of the cost of the rehabilitation of Enugu-Onitsha Road by 5.4 billion naira. The decision was taken at the weekly meeting of the Council, presided over by the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, at the Presidential Villa. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, told State House correspondents at the end of the meeting that the cost was increased to 15.7 billion naira from 10.3 billion naira.
Because of lack of appropriate budgeting and funding, all of these projects could not be completed. There were also failures in the implementation as we inherited it. There was also the need to provide for erosion control measures and drains. So that has led to a revision of the existing contract awarded in 2012 from 10.3 billion to 15.734 billion.